Do you prefer reading? Then check out this article. This video is intended to show a superficial walkthrough of the creation process. For a more in-depth learning experience, it is suggested to read the article. In this tutorial course, we will create this Chukudu from scratch. Along the way, you will learn a great deal of Blender for a beginner. If you like to go deeper, you can find project files on my Patreon, find community, ask me questions, or even book one-to-one sessions. At the end of this specific video, you should end up with a Blender scene like that. A humble beginning to the wooden scooter's deck. Here in the front, you see a hole for the steering column to go through. And at the back, you see a recessed slot for the rear wheel to come fit into. In this video, that's what we are going to model. Before we begin, it is a good idea to organize or reference images. For that, I'm going to use MyApps. It's a free and open source software that runs on the web and it doesn't require any login, so you can just go ahead and start using it. And to use it, I'm just gonna hit right click, add application, and add an image reference board. This is just a basic infinite UI image reference board where you can, drag and drop your images. So I'm just gonna enlarge it a little bit and double click it to activate it. And then I'm going to open my folder with all the reference images. I'm just going to select them all and drag and drop them into the app. And now they're all nicely imported into this program, and I can use this board to stay focused and inspired throughout the project's lifetime. So here we start with a new Blender scene. The first thing you should notice is this little screencast key that I added here. So when I press a button, you will see exactly which buttons I'm going to press, so I don't have to explain them. First thing we're going to do is select this light and camera and just delete them. And now we are going to add a reference image into our scene such that we can model our subject more precisely. And we want to add an image that is exactly from the side angle, for example. We already have such an image, so I'm going to add image and then reference, and I'm going to navigate where my image is. So here, this image for me should be very good to make a precise model, more or less precise model. So first thing I'm going to do is reset its rotation, and then rotate it 90 degrees in x-axis, and then I'm going to move it back a little bit, like so. And then I'm going to choose my cube, and I'm going to look at it from the front angle, and I'm going to make it small, bring it down here, and I'm going to increase the size like that, make it narrow a little bit. I'm going to rotate it to match the reference image, as you can see, and I'm going to increase its size, its length, a bit more like that. So it more or less is in the same size as the deck that I see in the reference image, right? So here I can make it a little bit smaller in that angle. You can kind of eyeball it. You don't have to be super precise because our model is a Chukudu. It doesn't need to be very precise. At this point, I want to switch to matcap view. So I'm going to go here, choose matcap, and I like this color over here. It helps me see the nuances of my model better. I'm going to go back to this front view, go into X-ray so I can see my model through, so I can see the reference image better as well this way, right? And I'm going to just drag my view over here, and I'm going to switch to tab to edit mode, choose these vertices over here, right? I'm going to make them small a little bit like that to match the thinness of the front part of the deck. And I'm going to go back over here, and I'm going to do the same here. I'm just going to do some basic moving vertices around to match the reference image. Very good. Great, this is the basic shape of the deck. It's already finished. So let's go ahead and create a hole through the front part so that later our steering column wheel can go through that. For that, I'm going to go into edit mode, add a loop cut here. I'm just going to bring it up somewhere here. Let's see from the front. Let's do edge slide to keep moving a little bit more like that, somewhere in the middle of that. You know, I'm putting it in the middle of that line over here. I'm gonna hit Ctrl B to bevel that edge and create like a square, something like that. And then I'm going to add a circle and a knife project cut to create a hole in the shape of that circle, right? So let's first bring our cursor into the center of that square. So let's bring our cursor to the center of this square over here, like so. And then I'm going to go into the object mode and add a circle. And I want the circle to have kind of 8 vertices. 8 vertices is enough. I'm gonna make it small, look from top. I'm gonna make it like small like that. I'm just gonna choose my deck, go into edit mode to see that this square we created earlier is kind of large enough to encapsulate the circle. So that's very good. I mean, if not, I could, you know, change the size of the circle as well, but it's very good right now. And now, in order to create a good knife projection, I have to rotate the circle like so, such that it exactly matches rotation of that deck. If I try to do it by hand like that, it will never be too precise. So to make it very precise, we should use snapping feature of Blender. So I'm gonna go into that place over here, and I'm gonna choose center and then face, and then align rotation to target. And then with my circle selected, I'm gonna hit G and then hold press CTRL and move it around towards the deck. And as you can see, the rotation does align, but not correctly. So we gotta do a little fix. For that, we have to choose the deck. So we gotta choose the deck, and we need to apply its scale. So we gotta hit CTRL A and then hit apply scale. And now if you do the same, choose the circle and try to snap it on the object, and you will see now that the circle is perfectly aligned to the surface of the deck, right? So we want to bring it somewhere here, right? Let's check from top, let's check from front. Exactly, the circle is here. You see, the circle is here. Perfect. Now I want to bring it a little bit up. Actually, I don't need to, but for the sake of it, let's just bring it a little bit up. And now I just want to create a knife projection hole through it like that. For that, I'm going to choose the deck, go into edit mode, and then choose the circle like so by hold pressing CTRL to choose multiple objects, and then choose circle like that. And then I have to go into look at the deck from exactly top. For that, I hit Shift numpad 7. You may have missed that, so I'm emphasizing that more. It was Shift 7 to look at it, not look at the scene from top, but look at that surface exactly from top. And so the knife project will work more perfectly. And with the selection applied, with the selection that we did earlier, we can now go ahead and choose Mesh, Knife Project. There's this little panel opened up here, and you should also choose Cut Through. Okay, now let's see what we did. If we now look at it, you can see that a circle shape appeared on both ends of the deck. Great. We can exit the object mode, choose the circle and delete it. We don't need it anymore. Go back into the edit mode, and now create an actual hole and fix some of the topology that appeared around the deck surface. So I'm just going to delete those faces over here from the bottom as well. We don't need those. And then I'm going to choose the vertices of the circle over here, like so, and then like so. And then I'm going to say bridge edge loops, and Blender will perfectly create kind of like a cylinder shape by merging, by kind of adding edges between those two circles to, you know, enclose the space around them. Of course, this is still not a hole yet. I just have to choose those surfaces at the bottom and top and delete faces. Delete faces. And now you see there's a nice hole in the front part of the deck, except that we need to now close the space that appeared around here. For that, we are also going to use bridge edge loops, but in order to use this, there has to be equal amount of edges between the two groups of vertices that you are going to merge. So here in the outer area, we see 4 vertices, right? And here in the inner circle, we see 8 vertices. So they don't match, and they need to match for bridge edge loops to work. That's no problem. We can just add more edge loops around. So I'm going to hit Ctrl+R, add an edge loop here, then add an edge loop here, add an edge loop here, and then add an edge loop here. And now you can see that if you count those vertices, there's exactly 8. So if I now choose the outer part, inner part, and I'm gonna say bridge edge loops, and it's almost perfect. It did kind of do the job, but it did it a little bit weird. Now the reason why this is happening is because of something called normals, and the normals were flipped off the surfaces. To see where the problem lies, you can go ahead and turn face orientation to notice that the orientation of the faces are not correct actually. Blue surface means turned outside, red surface means turned inside. And in this model, this circle part, this is the only part that is wrong. Blender can calculate it automatically. We just have to tell Blender to do that. So I need to flip the normals, flip the orientation of this inner piece that we created. So I'm just going to choose this. I'm just going to choose a random vertex and then hit Ctrl+L to choose that, you know, piece, all the vertices of that piece. And I'm going to hit recalculate normals inside. And as you can see, the blues and the reds are flipped now. And this should be a more correct orientation as far as I'm aware. So let's just turn off that face orientation colors because I'm going blind, honestly. Let's choose those vertices again now and hit bridge edge loops. And now as you can see, the edges are connected much more perfectly now. Blender understood that it is supposed to connect the closest vertex to closest vertex, like so, right? Creating an edge between them. It was able to do this because we told Blender the correct orientation of the faces. So yeah, let's just do it at the bottom as well. We choose those vertices, we choose those vertices, and then I'm going to choose bridge edge loops, and fantastic. We now created a very nicely shaped drilled hole through the front part, and that it has a good topology, right? It has a very good topology as far as I am aware. I'm pretty sure there are other people out there who will say that no, this is not a very good topology, there could be a better way to do it, but for our purposes this should be enough. So great, let's now create the recess slot at the rear end of our deck. And for that I'm just going to create another edge loop and bring it down here. Let's look at it from the front. And then I'm going to choose edge slide to bring it somewhere around here, because you see the recess slot goes from here all the way until here. So I'm just going to add an edge loop there, right? Great. And now I could choose that edge in the middle like this, and then I could duplicate it, sort of copy it by beveling it. So CTRL-B, and this bevel, sort of like a shape, sort of like a third face that extends itself like this, right? I just created an easy third face that's going here now, and now all I have to do is delete it, right? So I'm just going to choose those faces, and I'm just going to delete them, and then I'm going to go into vertex mode, and I'm going to choose the vertices where there should be a face, in this case these 4 vertices, and then hit F to fill a surface there. Very simple. I'm just going to choose these 4 vertices, hit F and add a surface, and I'm just going to do the same over here as well. Fantastic. And that's it. That's the end of this tutorial. Congratulations. So yeah, there's a lot of going on actually here. I'm kind of showing you, watered down version of a rather complicated process. I tried to give much more detail in the article, and you will be able to kind of go into the rabbit hole a little further in the article, but I still tried to keep it not so theoretical, not so boring. But yeah, the article may have ended up being too detailed or not so detailed. It may be lacking enough detail such that you cannot really follow it. I'm not really sure, but I'm looking forward to your feedback on that one as well. So yeah, in the next tutorial we will be going to model the steering column that you see over here, and we will take it from there. So see you in the next video.